away the complexity of responsive email. The idea behind it is pretty simple. Just as jQuery normalizes DOM and abstracts low-level instructions and animations, MJML abstracts the low-level hooks for responsive emails with an easy syntax. And also MJML is responsive by design. This means you can forget about nested tables, conditional comments, and more generally about making your email responsive. MJML does it for you. So let's take a look at this sample code listing here. Here we could see two sections of email template with one column of in each section. Also a few components like image here above, text, and button. So the beauty of MJML is that you could easily create your own components. So for example, if you have a lot of different emails in process, you could make a specific component, for example, a button or even an image carousel or something, and share it between your emails. So when MJML agent transpiles this code into HTML, you'll get this bloated table-based layout that's quite bulletproof. So why do I love MJML? Because it's easy to use. There is an online editor at mjml.io website. They have desktop application and they have an ability to run locally on your computer. It requires to get and set up Node.js and PM library. You write just a few commands and you are done. You transpile your MJML code into HTML. So they have fantastic documentation. It's accessible and really easy to understand. This framework is really lightweight and flexible. It doesn't bloat your project with anything. It has a modular design, so with a predefined library of components you could use. And it also reduces testing time for me. So as I noted earlier, you could use online MJML editor. So how does it look like? We have two panels. From the left side, you could see MJML source code, that's an editor, and the right one is an instant preview. So when you type something, the right panel updates immediately, and that's the beauty of this. To use MJML within your development workflow, you just need to install MJML npm package and run simple command just to insert your paths for your source MJML and your output HTML, and you are done. Okay, that's it for now with MJML, and let's move on to serverless computing. So what is it serverless? To answer this question, we have to make a step back and look at good old monolithic application. What do we have here? For example, it could be a Tomcat Java GSP old-fashioned application with a lot of services inside. And let's emphasize common pain points of such an application. It has tight couplet logic. This application is quite hard to scale. And configuration should be in place. I mean that you should think about load balancing, high availability. You should think about your host system that hosts your application. And you should manage this also, because your development doesn't stop when you are finished with your code. And that's not a complete list of problems also, of course. So what do we want as developers? We really want to focus on our application business logic, not on the infrastructure. And so how serverless approach could help us? Serverless is a cloud computing execution model where the cloud provider dynamically manages the allocation and provisioning of servers. A serverless application runs in stateless compute containers that are event triggered. They are ephemeral, may last for one invocation, and fully managed by a cloud provider. So pricing is based on number of executions rather than pre-purchased compute capacity. So instead of spinning a whole server instance, we could just write a code, push it to a vendor, and it run and scale our code automatically. Let's take a look at this picture. Here we can see a lot of components that are needed to be care of. And even from containers perspective, there are many things to manage. In case of serverless, it's just application with libraries and function handler. So it's quite obvious that in case of raw virtual machine, we have to care of a lot of stuff, hardware, hypervisor, OS, and whatever. And nowadays we have a few cloud vendors who provide us an ability to run cloud functions. Such a functionality is commonly called function as service. In our company, we use a significant amount of Amazon services, so it was a natural choice for us to choose Amazon Lambda. I know the next speaker is going to talk about Microsoft Azure functions, so you'll get a more detailed picture at the end of our meetup. Which benefits does function as service have? Finally, you can focus on your application, not the infrastructure. You don't need to take care of scaling and high availability. And of course, you reduce your costs significantly. Because if you take a look at this picture, we can see that we don't have to keep our machines always up and running, but we pay only per function call basis. Okay, let's build something. As you may recall from the first part of the presentation, MJML has a web editor. It looks like that. It has two panels with source code and a preview panel. So our goal is to build a simplified version of an original editor. The main thing here is that we'll use Amazon Lambda function as our MJML parsing service. So let's take a look at the overall architecture here. We have three parts. The first is an Angular application that is hosted at Amazon S3 static website. The second one is API gateway to route requests. And the third one is actually Lambda Node.js as a MJML processing module. So when a user types MJML code into our source panel, then the request goes to Amazon Lambda function and it returns back our converted HTML. Okay, let me show you a quick demo. Let's get out of here. Okay. So